Hello and welcome to Conversations from the Adoption and Fostering podcast. In this episode, we speak to Saul. He shares his early life experience and journey through foster care to adoption as an older child. Saul is open and honest in relation to the impact of his childhood experiences, finding out personal information through medical records and the impact of these events on how he saw himself as an adult. This is an emotionally charged account, so please listen with care. As always, if you have experience of adoption, fostering or special guardianship from any perspective and would like to share that on the podcast, please get in touch through the Facebook or Twitter page, or you can email us at aandfpodcast@gmail.com.
Hi Al, my name's Saul, and I've been kindly invited to your podcast as an ex-care leaver and adoptee from Birmingham in the UK.
It's an absolute pleasure, but seriously, the pleasure is all ours. And what I'd love to know, I know a little bit about your story, and we've had a little chat, but I really don't know very much about you at all. So tell me, start wherever you want to start, and tell me whatever you want to tell me, really.
Yeah, I suppose to start at right at the beginning. So I suppose the disclaimer is I don't know some of the things I might say 100%. I'm not necessarily going to go into depth on some things as well, out of respect for other people that it involves. And I suppose it's just to kind of get an idea of where I come from in our community, and then of course hopefully I want to talk about orphan and my wants and dreams for that community, for that online community. So yeah, I was born in Birmingham, St. Elizabeth Hospital on the 5th of the 12th, 1985. I think I was born a couple of weeks premature. The story goes that I was taken off my mother from straight away. So there was a pre-awareness that the mother potentially can't look after the child or doesn't want the child. Just trying to make it so it makes sense. My mother, I found out many years ago, by the way, and I still haven't had this confirmed, but my mother my birth was conceived through a sexual assault that happened to her. I tried to not say the word, or I wanted to say the word, but I just think that's how I'd prefer to say it, out of respect for her. My birth mother, should I say. And I think that then would have kick-started a whole series of events that would have maybe led to me then being taken off her from birth. I know she was white. I don't know what other sort of origin, other than I was born Saul David Jones, and her last name is the same. So I would presume that that's where my, through name and heritage on that side. And then this is where it's a mix of memories, a mix of what I've been told, and a mix of things that I've read. So the read part's quite important. So many years ago, I got in an accident and I had to end up having medical records sent to me. When I was going through the medical records, that's when I found out the truth officially about what had happened to my mother, because I was never told that, so I didn't know. So what it then confirmed is the memories that I had. So I had the memories of, because what happened, she'd been sectioned, and she suffered from mental health. But at the time, they were still trying to integrate me back with her.
Yeah.
So I kept getting put backwards and forwards with her. And unfortunately, that's where the memories that I have of the abuse, that's when that time, that's when that happened. At some point, so it's before I started school. So before I started school, I got into the last foster home that I ended up being in before I was later adopted. So I'll come into that a little bit later on. So between the age of 1 and 4, which is really strange for me because the memories that I have are very vivid.
Yeah.
I remember the foster homes I went into. I remember my mother. I remember the last time I said goodbye to her. Vivid. The older I get, the more vivid it gets. So it's very strange the way I've worked out how old I was just through circumstance and working out. I remember going to the last foster home. I remember being there, I remember going to school for the first time. So I'm trying to see where I'm getting myself a little bit lost here. So so she was eventually, for whatever reason, they decided that's it now. She, your mother can't take care of you any longer. Yeah. So that's when I went into care full time. And I count in my head maybe four different foster homes, maybe more. But yeah, those are the ones that I remember situations happening that have, stayed with me. Then, like I say, I got in a final foster home. It was a sort of grandparents, and they were fostering another 2 children in the home, and I became part of that family. They were a black family because I'm mixed race as well. Just to think I need to maybe put that behind. My mother's white, and then whoever the father is obviously coloured of some sort. Don't know, haven't got a clue. Could be anything I've been called. As you can probably see, I have a very different look about me. So it's not always like, sometimes I get the Malaysian look, or I get something Mexican, or right. My hair as well, when it grows out, it doesn't grow afro. So it's not always a straightforward, he's just black Caribbean and white, or he's black African and white. There seem to be, and it's come out in my children as well, like their hair is sort of Asian element to it as well. So there's lots of mystery about what color I actually am. But in the 80s, as a half caste kid, as they would say, which actually was a sort of bully term. That's another part of something else that I could talk about. But they put, try and keep you with the sort of people of color, black people, or people of that sort of culture. So they also had loads of grandchildren. So there was loads. There was always kids in the house, and it was a huge house. And then it was a bit of fate sort of happened. The person that was dealing with the children ended up adopting me, who was dealing with the other 2 foster kids. Officially. I'm trying to be careful about what I do say here. Just I was chosen in a sense, and this is quite important, because the name Saul that I was given, that I'm still not too sure who gave me that name, whether it was my mother or birth mother, or whether it was a nurse or whoever it was. In one of the translations in across the world, it means the chosen one. And my adoptive mother used to say, "This is why." So that all made kind of nice, cute sense in a way. And then it wasn't straightforward adoption. It took, from what I know, 2 years for it to go through. The reasons for that, what I've told and what is facts are, I don't know. So I'm going to skip a little bit here and not talk too much about my adoption.
Yeah.
That period. But I was officially adopted. I think might be March or May, because I'm slightly dyslexic, so sometimes I get things like that mixed up. But I think it was 1993. So I was coming up to 8 years. I was 8 years old. And I remember standing in front of the judge, So yeah, I remember it. So this is kind of like an experience. This is something that, this is something that I hope, I've never had a chance to speak to other people that have had this experience before. So I'm hoping what I'm doing today will not only help me say, hey, I went through it too, but maybe hear what other people have gone through,
Yeah.
and your podcast, I've already started going through your podcast. So, and it's great because it's therapy for me, because it just makes me understand that, other people have felt the same way. And that day when the judge asked me, that weight, that pressure to decide my future, it was something I was aware of and conscious of at 7, 8 years old.
Mm.
I wasn't sure what I was doing. I knew, because I was told that the foster family wanted to adopt me, which didn't make any sense because it wasn't my fondest memories. And so it didn't make any sense at the time, and it still doesn't make sense to me now. I don't understand why they would, So I didn't want to go back there at the time. That's what I was thinking in my head. I don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
And then it was like a completely different lifestyle. My parents were, at the time, my adopted parents, they were educated, cultured, careers. They took me away. I'd never been anywhere in my life as that. It's something that would be very common with a lot of people who didn't care. I got adopted and they took me to the Caribbean and to New York for a month for the first time at Christmas. On my birthday, it was like Christmas time in New York. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So, I had these experiences as like, yeah, I did want that, but, and this is where I have to be honest. I have to be honest because it nearly, it's really cost me not to be honest. I didn't know what I was doing and I wasn't happy. And I was not aware that I wasn't happy. I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel like it was the dream. I didn't feel like everything was going to be all hunky-dory. It looked like it. It looked like it. But inside, and I never knew. You wouldn't know. I just knew that it was almost like, okay, I'd rather choose this over that.
Yeah.
Sort of moving forward through the adoption. Lots of things happened. And I left home when I was 17. I dropped out of college after 3 months. And then that didn't go down well at all. Yeah, cut a long story short, I left home and I was on my own for have been on my own like that for the majority of the time. I did have a child, and when I was young, she's a certain age now, and I had her, when I was 2021, she was born. And then I tried to rekindle with my adoptive parents at that time.
Yeah.
The relationship that I was in was very, at the time, a difficult one. And it broke down quite dramatically. Something that I actually believed. This is a good point, a little side note. So when I was in a relationship with someone and ended up, having a child with them and unplanned and everything, I naively thought that my life story meant that the person who was going to conceive my child was the person that I was meant to stay with for the rest of my life. I really believed that. I so believed it. I can't tell you, I believed it. And I refused to believe that I could create a broken home. So I stuck it out as long as as anyone can. I didn't run away from my responsibility, but it got too much, and it got too much for my daughter. And then it broke down my relationship with my adoptive parents as well at the same time. So then I ended up in one of many hostels that I've been in throughout the Midlands. I've probably been in all at some stage across the, at different points. And then, yeah, that's when I really was on my own then. And I couldn't see my child either. And I didn't have any support from my adoptive parents. And yeah, I was on my own at, very young, early 20s. Yeah, then I had another relationship, a good few years sort of before I had my second child, because she's 4-year difference now. That one was a lot better. I was in the relationship for a lot longer, almost 10 years. And it's sad because a lot of the reasons why I'm not with that person is because of the things that I've carried for my whole life. Because it was only then, since I lost that support network, I ended up having a nervous break. I don't know what you would call it, a breakdown, a mental breakdown. Yeah, and it was, yeah, but a few of them along the way, but I suppose there's always been someone to kind of pick me up, especially my last partner. She's been there to literally pick me up off the floor. Whereas this time no one was there, so I just sank. Somehow I managed to keep it together for my contact with my kids, which is only, I think, just pure, they can't see me like that. But yeah, I wanted out. And that's just something I really do want to talk about, because that whole moment a few years ago now, I'm well into my 30s and this is happening. So it's like a realization I've carried all these problems from even before I was born. And then it was just like, bang, you have no choice. You face this or you die. And, thank God. If I say thank God, I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I believe in something. I felt some things at times as well. So I've seen childbirth, and if that's not a miracle, then I don't know what is, because that is definitely a miracle. So that's my take on religion. Quickly moving on. But yeah, I just can't, there's so many things that I have to be faithful. I have to be grateful for, really. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
No, you were talking about, it was interesting. You've listening to everything you've said. It seems like that all of those early life experiences, the contact with your mum, in and out of hospital, in and out of, then into a sequence of foster placements, then into an adoptive home. That sounds like it's got its whole story in there as well. It seems like adoption, or care and adoption and being separated, has just cast such a shadow across every aspect of your life. Were you, when you were going through, the stuff as a young adult and as an adult, getting a bit older, did you see it in those terms? Did you sort of join the dots and say, how I am now is like the result of all of that? Or, I mean, that's me putting words in your mouth. Or was it just sort of totally out of the blue? You talked about sort of having to deal with it. Did you know there wasn't it?
No, not to that level. So you're part right. It is, and it is a case of, all right, I love my daughter and I love my daughters. I was thinking when I had my first child, but just as an overall concept, I know, or I felt, because of what I've been through, means that I do generally care for them. And I have got that empathy. I'm not cut off from it, Even though inside I'm like, you might have already been like that anyway. I feel it's been hype. I did think at the time, yes, things like that are a result of it's that nurture versus nature argument. You know, am I really like that, or is that just because I've been treated, you know, differently as a child, so therefore it's made me want to be the opposite with my children.
Yeah.
So that's, some of those things are definitely irrelevant. I knew at the time, like certain things about me or my morals, so we say, were from my time being in care and being adopted. But it was the deep rooted issue, because up until I got my medical records, which, you know, I think my little one was young or just born, I didn't know that had happened to my mother.
Right.
So I carried a lot of guilt about being just alive. Always felt I was a problem because of what happened.
Yeah.
Because it never worked out for me.
Yeah.
And I never could understand why. And then when I found out that, I kind of like put the dots together and thought, oh, sugar, I'm not supposed to be here. That's why. Like, I shouldn't be here. I should, you know, or loads of things, like the bad blood running through my veins, the fact that I clearly look like that person. May even, again, the nature argument. You know, am I like that person just because I have their DNA? You know, and just feeling horrible about that. You know, the fact that I can even say this now without completely, it does show I've come a long way, man.
I mean, you saying it is, it's heart-wrenching to hear you say those words.
I think it's a blessing now, though, because now I do understand what it's like not to love yourself and the dangerous impact it has on your whole life. The fact that I've never been able to be in a settled relationship, that before this I'd never stayed in one place longer than 5 minutes, because in my relationship that I had with my little one, we kept splitting up and I kept going here, there and everywhere. And, you know, so it was like I realized that because I never had any self-worth, I was always trying to prove myself. I never really been happy with my life, because I always felt like, you know, I had a lot of the stereotypical stuff which you do here, you know, from people like myself, where you just never thought you'd get to that age. So when you're here at like middle age, you're like with grown kids, you just, you know, the microscope's on you, like on you, in it bigger than ever, and it's like, that's why I see it as a bit of a blessing that I can even say it, because otherwise, I don't know. It was only going to be one. It was going to be one or the other way. I was going to overcome it, or I was going to let it take me, like it has done hundreds and thousands of others across the world like me. And that's the upsetting thing, and that's why I'm here. Because I needed individuals to help me who never knew F all about me. I had people at work. I had a senior manager tell me what was wrong with me after 30 odd years, and I never knew. She just sat there and just said, "You're not well in the head. It's got nothing to do with how you feel." And I thanked that woman. Even the other day, I thanked her, because that triggered to realize it was up here and not in here, my heart, where the pain was, where the huge hole lit, you know. And I'm hoping others, you know, when I I hear this from others. I do, because it's something hard to explain, but it's like had a hole in my chest that the way I tried to explain it was like I was putting a plaster over it. And then I just kept putting plasters on them. And then one day someone just went, and it was just there. And then every time, even to this day, it's like the what I went through managed to seal the hole. So there's like permanent fixing going on. And that's the best way I can explain it, because that's how I feel now. And there may be a little hole there, but it's manageable. It's manageable enough for me to get through with my mental health condition, because that's what I have, and that's what I always have.
So did you get, you mentioned individuals helped you. Did you get professional help?
Yeah, that was it, you see, because that same manager, her partner works in mental health. So I went to work some very, I tried, I had took time, and I just tried to go back to work, and I ended up having an episode at work, and that's when I couldn't hide it anymore. And then that's when they put me in touch with the people at work, the support network at work. And then from there, went to my doctor, which was really hard. Tell your doctor you're not feeling well in your head. Really, really difficult. But I managed to do that and got referred to local support. Few phone calls, some antidepressants. About 3 months. Good meditation. Real basic stuff like just hugging myself with the same love that I give my children, but to me. Doing stuff that I never even thought about. But it does work. It does work, because when I don't have someone to, so I'm quite a sensitive person anyway. I think this is the thing. Am I a sensitive person, or is it just because of what I've been through that makes me a sensitive person? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out. I hope that it is that I am more of a sensitive person anyway, because I love animals, and I generally actually love people as well. I generally love people, and I generally have hope, and I feel like I'm very in tune with people and feelings, and I feel like I am. I mean, I'm probably not, but that's and I like that trait about me. I feel like it gives me strength where obviously weakness now, where I see strength in it now. And I do, because I feel like for me to do this and to bear all, it takes a lot of balls.
Yeah, totally. Because I know that it's a story that's been inside you for a long time, and now this is the first time you've shared it, which is quite a place to share it. So
the right place is the right place.
Well, I'm sure other opinions are available, but yeah.
I've Googled, I've seen you, I Googled you, and I saw you guys straight there at the top of the podcast for adoption and fostering. And I think that's all because of the hard work and the honesty, the integrity that you're putting into it. And also I've had experience with other people that aren't so eager, or it's not been as easy. Shall we say, to for them to see who I was about. You called me straight away, and you really wanted to know about my story, and it's been nothing but a pleasure already. And this is what I really thought, I was hoping would happen. I just never thought it would happen so soon.
Right. I mean, why are you telling your story now? Because I'm sure you've told there's people around you who know your story. There's people who are supporting you know your story. So why? You set up Orphan. What's your hope and dream and plan?
I think because, like you say, I don't. If I'm being brutally honest, the support's not there for me. That's where it came from. Orphan the concept of it came from me as a user of. I was a potential user of somewhere online that I can connect with, that understands me and understands what I'm going through and understands what I might need support with throughout all my life. Because that's what I've realized. There isn't that constant support. So the concept of Orphan is an online community hub that is an understood brand by eventually the general public. Like, it came from concept of Oxfam. We all know, as soon as I say that word, you know what that, as a general public, you know what that's to do with charity work across the world. Simple. I want that for Orphan, as in, hey, that's a place that, hey, I'm a foster care leaver or I'm a foster parent. Let me go to Orphan and they'll get me in touch wherever I am with the right people. Or I can listen to a podcast from Al, or I can get involved with an online blog with, you know, some people that have managed to great connections with in Parliament, and people that can make a difference. I can hear their voices, and not for it to be, as the concept is, a family for all. It's a very simple concept, because that's what I want. I want to be able to type in Orphan when I'm not feeling too good and have someone there, not necessarily just a specific counselor. It might be quite informal because I'm feeling a bit lonely, or I've been triggered, and it's to do with my past specifically. So I want to be able to kind of go, okay, you can come here and I'm going to understand, or at least try to understand, or have the connection for somebody who will specifically understand those needs. And I've been inspired by so many movements that have happened recently, the LGBTQ movement, as especially the way they've been able to come together worldwide. And there is plenty out there for them in terms of hubs and online, forums, and they've got people in Parliament wearing badges, and I feel people in care or care leavers, and this goes for the people that are foster carers and adoptees too. You're a vulnerable group that is considered, in my opinion, less important than others. And that is where I have to say, no, why can't we have something like this? And why can't it be a community that we all come together with peace, love, and in a safe environment? And that's why I've only since like a week and a half ago, and the connections have been nothing but truly amazing, Al.
Yeah.
This is the tip of the iceberg for me at the moment, for sure. But the amount of interactions and messages and emails, and it's a blessing. It's more of a motivator than I ever needed in such a small time scale. So the dream is for Orphan in 5 to 10 years time that we could be even international. I've got a connection in Ghana who has an orphanage. She is really massive into trying to help her community in Ghana with their children, with the same issues that our children have, with less resource, with less awareness, with more stigma, with harsher conditions. And I couldn't believe it. We just, online is the power of it, which I know because I work in it. So it might be industry that I work in. It's just relating it to this specific target audience, and nothing but love and support. And I know eventually, who knows, I'll be going there as part of Orphan's charity efforts to help over there, bring awareness that, hey, there are other kids that feel the same and look the same as you even, and they live miles away. But the bottom line is they just want a family. And that's all we want. We just want family. I want a family. Even this day, I'm a co-parent. I don't have a partner. I have a cat. She's lovely. She's absolutely love her to death. My children, but I don't have a family, as it were. I will. Some good news is, after falling out with my adoptive parents, So I won't get into the reasons why, but it was good 14 years since I had any communication with them. This year, there has been. I had a phone call from my adoptive mother, and we've been back and forth on WhatsApp every day since. That was about 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm. It feels like in a lot of ways you're at the start of a story. You're at the end of one story and the start of another, aren't you?
Yeah, because I'm going to find out the truth in terms of you can't put context to black and white, can you? You can't put context to what someone might have been quoted as being saying. You know, apparently I came from a racist family, didn't want me. The family didn't want me either, because I was this. But you can imagine if that was the reason why, then even the fury and even more racism and hatred would be there. And it's so funny because just as a side story, I remember this. I remember this clearly. I remember being taken by my birth mother to her parents' house. And they had a little house. I remember it was like a little low ceiling cottagey type house. And they had loads of those little trinkets, those little porcelain trinkets everywhere. Because I remember going in, looking at them. I was very aware child. I was very in my surroundings and inquisitive even then. And I remember just staring at them and looking at them. What the hell is this? Why have they got all these little things in their house? But they look kind of cool. And I remember the parents having an argument with my mother saying, we don't want this and child here. I remember it. And I remember us walking home. You know, like I remember that. And then I read it in my medical records that that's what happened. It's just been there's so many other little memories that I have, you know, that actually were real. And I was like, so I need to, the communication with my adoptive mother is about a new relationship between us. The byproducts will be, eventually, we'll be able to talk openly about what has happened and what happened before, so I can put a little bit of context before I continue my journey to find my birth mother.
Yeah.
Which I've been putting off for years and years. And I'm glad I did, because I was never ready for that. And I'm still not really ready for it now. But yeah, I'm trying to do one thing at a time. And so, yeah, which is why I think orphaning has become a blessing for me, because it's a way that I can share my experience of exactly what I'm going to go through my online my online medium. So media. So then others are definitely going to be able to understand and relate to it, because I'm going to show it. Yeah. I'm actually going to show what I'm going to go through. And it's going to be tough, but I think people need to see. And I feel like this is my calling now. I feel like I genuinely believe this is my calling. Once my children are big and they're grown and it's just me and I don't want to work in online marketing forever, in what I'm doing forever. I want this to be my calling. And I don't do it for money. I'm doing it to make a difference. And I'm using it to be a part of this community. And I can see it's building. So I feel like I'm coming in at the right time.
Saul, you've been so honest, and it feels tangibly like so still very present, so much of this stuff. I really, really appreciate your honesty, and, you know, we just really wish you well. Where can people kind of hook into your social medias and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, because I've only just set it up. If you type in Orphan, ORFAN, at the moment, it won't come up. So the best thing to do is to try it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And try it on Facebook. Definitely Twitter.
Yeah.
At orphan_UK. Because that's where the community feels like it's really, you know, everything's going on there on the Twitter in a positive way, which is so great to see. And then from there, just reach out to me. It's just me. It's I haven't set up I've got to do all of that kind of stuff, and setting it up as a non-profit organization and this, that, and the other. I've got to do all that. I didn't are just building an online network now. So if it is something that it's a connection for you guys, then please just reach out for any of those means.
All right. Saul, I have a feeling that we're going to talk again. And I feel, it's been genuinely say it's been a real privilege to talk to you as you've shared your story and parts of your story. And just, I'm sure as people are listening to this, just wishing you well really in the future, and we just look forward to, walking and watching your journey with you.
Thank you so much, Al. I'll speak to you soon.